All right, this tutorial is meant for you to follow along, pause as you need to complete, and to practice one-point perspective. So this is in a series of practice exercises that we're going to do in order to learn about how to create that feeling of three-dimensional space on a paper or on a flat page. So this is an example of what the finished assignment is going to look like. This project or this assignment, we are creating 15 boxes using one-point perspective. So the idea is I have just a cube here. The idea is that in one-point perspective, we are looking at the object straight on. So that requires us to think about this flat surface and then to think about if we could see the top or the side of the cube based on where it is in space. So you will be completing your assignment in pencil just so you can make erasures. I'm going to be using some colored pens to kind of keep track of different types of lines. So you are going to need a ruler. You're going to need a pencil to draw with, and then an eraser, and then you just need your sketchbook page. So the first thing we are going to do is we are going to label our page 1-point perspective, and this exercise is called 15 boxes. So these are just going to be 15 different generic boxes, solid, such as this cube here. And it is really a good place to start with a simple form like this, and then we can get into more complex things. So on your page, about halfway down, I know you can't see my entire page here, but I have this up and down. I am going to just draw a horizontal line. This line is my horizon line. So I want you to go ahead and label it. This is that imaginary spot in space, I guess, where the sky meets the ground. It is also called the eye line. So make sure you have that labeled. It doesn't have to be perfectly in the middle of the page. It's just a guess. I didn't measure it. So the next thing is I'm going to draw a dot in the middle. That dot is the vanishing point. So this is going to be the spot or the point where all of these boxes seem to recede back in space to. So let's look at this finished one. Here I have a box, that's the front of the box, and then the bottom of the box, these lines are receding back in space to the vanishing point. Over here, it's different. These lines recede, they are at a different angle. So you may have made boxes or cubes before in elementary school, and the way that you did this is by drawing a square, and then you're going to draw 3 parallel lines, and then you're going to cut that off. Well, this is similar, except these are not parallel anymore. These converging lines or receding lines are all going to angle towards a vanishing point. So to do this with correct linear perspective, we are going to have these angled lines go back to wherever that vanishing point is. So the first thing that I want you to do is to go ahead and make 15 boxes. Now, in order to fit on this page, you are going to need to make them about the size of a quarter. So we are going to start in this space above here, and you are just going to go ahead. I am doing this in marker, in a color marker, just so we can kind of keep track of. So I'm not going to make the 3D part of this yet. I am just making the front of all of my boxes. Do keep them with just vertical lines and horizontal lines. So this is the front. If I'm thinking about a box like this, I am drawing the face, this part right here. So I'm going to draw some that are higher up in space, some that are lower, closer down to the vanishing point, some that are off to the left, some that are off to the right. So just a variety of different boxes. Could be a square, it could be a rectangle. All right, I'm going to leave some space in between them. They might end up overlapping or underlapping each other, but that's what I'm going to do. So I have 5 boxes that are above. Now I am going to make 5 boxes that are somehow touching this horizon line. So the first one I'm going to do is a box that sits right on that line. I'm going to make one that sits on the line and goes down. I am going to make one that is half above, half below, or actually not even half, but some of it is above, some of it's below. So take your time and go ahead and draw 5 boxes that are above the line, 5 boxes that are somehow touching. I'm going to draw this one over here. And then you're going to draw another 5 that are below this line. So again, they can be a variety of sizes, but they are all 4-sided. They are all like rectangles or squares right now, just flat shapes. They all have 90-degree angles. All right. And I'm going to put one all the way over here on the edge. All right. Some people like to number these just so they know they have them all. You do not have to, but I'm just going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right, so pause and finish drawing your 15 boxes. These are all right now just rectangles or squares. All right, so the next step in this is to draw the part of the box that recedes back in space, or is the depth. So I have just drawn the front of this. I'm looking straight at this box, but now I am going to draw the sides or the top or the bottom that I can see that shows that it has some depth. So I'm going to start with these ones that are above, and I would recommend you draw lightly because you're going to end up erasing. I am going to start out with a different color marker just to show you the lines that recede back in space. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler, and I am going to line my ruler up on the vanishing point, and I'm going to start with the number 1 box. I am going to take the corners, 1, 2, 3 corners that are on the same side as the vanishing point, and I'm going to draw lines from one corner all the way back to the vanishing point. So you see that this went through another box. I'm not going to worry about that right now. So I'm going to pivot. So that means I'm going to take my pencil, or a marker in this case. I am going to pivot my ruler, and now I'm going to draw a line from that corner back to the box, and then that corner back to the box. So I am thinking of this as a solid object, right? So if there were a part of this box that was up in this corner, and it would go across the front of my box. I'm not actually going to draw it. So if it were to go inside of my original drawing, I'm just not going to draw it. So just really quickly, I want you to stop right now and label one of these lines. Converging line. This means that it converges or goes back or recedes back to the vanishing point. Notice these are not parallel. They all go at a different angle because I pivoted on that vanishing point. So right now I have the front or the face, and I have my side and my bottom, and it goes back forever ever in space. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to determine how deep that box is. How far back in space does it go? And I'm going to do this with a set of parallel lines. So I am going to now switch to just my pencil, and I am going to line up. Here's the original face of my box. That's the front. I'm looking straight at it. I'm going to line my ruler up. Notice this is horizontal. I'm going to keep my ruler horizontal. I'm going to slide it down however deep I want that box to be. I'm going to cut off the bottom or the depth. So now, notice this is parallel. If you are in the math world, these little symbols mean that they are parallel to each other. Now I'm going to cut off the side of the box. So the side of the box is vertical, and I'm going to slide my ruler, keeping it vertical until it comes to the that back edge of my box, and I'm going to cut off the side of my box. So this is parallel to that. They are both vertical. All right, so I am done drawing the depth of my box. It might not look very, very three-dimensional. So what I am going to do is I am going to shade in one side of my box, the bottom. I'm just going to choose the bottom with a medium value. And then I'm going to shade the side of my box with a light value. So now I have three different values: darker, medium on the bottom, and then light on the side and white in the front. What should I do with these? I should erase them. So you hopefully have a pencil and you can erase them. I'm just going to kind of squiggle them out. All right, so we're going to practice again. We're going to do all these boxes that are above the line, and I am going to do the same method where I'm going to pivot my ruler. I'm going to go from that angle right corner there back to the vanishing point. I am pivoting back to the vanishing point, and then I'm pivoting. This is a really skinny slice. Because it is really close to the vanishing point, I can only see a little bit of this side. I can see more of the bottom. So if it's something that's directly ahead or on top of me, I'm only going to see the bottom. And if it is something over to this side, I'm going to see the bottom and the left side. So converging lines back to the vanishing point. Now I'm going to draw cutoff lines. This is how deep the box is. Here I have lined it up with a horizontal line at the bottom. Now the back of the box is going to be horizontal, so make sure that is parallel with that. I'm going to put my ruler vertical. I am going to slide it to the right, keeping it vertical, and I am going to cut off. So at this point, before I start shading, I do like to go ahead and erase my converging lines. And I'm going to shade one side darker. And that sliver on the side, I'm going to leave that pretty light. If you want to make this even more accurate, I guess, as far as shading goes, what we generally think about is that if an object is farther away from us, it's darker. So the bottom of this box that is farthest away from us, that would be the darkest spot. And then as it comes forward in space, it gets lighter. So you can use that for the bottom of your boxes for these ones that are floating above. You don't have to. You can just use flat values. All right, I have 2 done. You are going to finish the rest of these that are floating above. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to start on these ones that are on the horizon line or the eye line. These ones are pretty easy. You only need to draw the side of the box that goes back in space. So if it is to the left, we are going to just draw the right-hand side. If it is to the right, you are going to draw the left-hand side. Because this is at your eye level, if you think about this as a building, you can't see the roof of the building when you're standing on the ground. You cannot see underneath the building when you're standing on the ground. You can see the front of a building. You might be able to see the side. So these ones are pretty easy. The converging lines go to the vanishing point. Notice this one is already there. It's on the horizon line. This one I pivoted on the vanishing point. And now I'm going to determine how far back in space, how deep is this box. And I draw a cutoff line. I'm going to erase the converging lines that aren't part of my box. And now I'm going to shade this. So thinking about that idea that something that's farther away is darker, and as it gets closer to me, it gets lighter, I'm going to use a transition here. All right, let's do this one here. The bottom of the box, the top, and then I am going to draw a cutoff line. So this is vertical. I keep my ruler vertical. I slide it back. That's vertical. Now, because these are solid, I am going to erase the part of the horizon line inside that box. I'm going to erase this. Now, if you have boxes that might overlap each other, then you have to determine what's in front and what's in back, and you would have like a solid overlap. All right, so you're going to finish all those ones that are on the horizon line, and then you are going to start the ones that are below the horizon line. So again, below the horizon line, here is the face. I'm going to take 1, 2, 3 converging lines back to the vanishing point. So from this corner back to the vanishing point, this corner back to the vanishing point, this one back to the vanishing point. These are not parallel. They pivot, kind of like hands on a clock. All right, so the next thing I do is I figure out how deep I want this box to go back in space, because I can see the top and I can see the side. I'm going to start on the side. Doesn't matter if you start on the top or the side. I'm going to line my ruler up. It is vertical. I'm going to slide it back, keeping vertical. This is probably the most common problem people have with this that are beginning this, is that they will make their ruler tilt. The only diagonal line on this paper should be going back to a vanishing point. If it is not a converging line that goes back to the vanishing point, then it is a vertical line or it is a horizontal line. So these should not be at an angle other than vertical and horizontal. Any angled line goes back to the vanishing point. So it doesn't matter which side is darker and which side is lighter. Just figure that out for yourself. One side's going to be darker, one side's going to be lighter, and then the face can just stay empty. I'm going to erase any of the converging line that is not part of my solid box. So you're going to finish up the rest of those so that you have 15 complete boxes. They look solid. You have shaded in the top or the side that is receding back in space, and you have the front of the boxes that are just empty. So to complete this assignment or exercise, you will take a picture. Remember, you're going to have 15 boxes total. Erase any of your planning lines that are not part of your final solid box.